G'day, have I got a story for you? Check the disclaimer. Season 1, Episode 74. Perspective. Previously, I have already contacted everyone that I need to, and they are all ready. I wonder if what I have planned for the woman and Elva will help them as much as I hope. Nearly time. Okay, here we go. Continues. I am using my mind to carefully coordinate everything. I have simultaneously done a lot of different things with my mind many times before, but this time it's a bit different. So many different things happening. A lot of people in many different places. They are all so far from here and so far from each other. Okay, it's all happening now. I open my eyes, remove some attachments and sit up. I wriggle my arms free and undo straps. Now for the others. Elva first. Attachments and straps removed. He stands up, he is so tall. I tell him verbally what's happening, but his mind... Okay. I'll tell him only a few things over and over again. He knows how to follow simple instructions, so that's what I'll do. I say to him, woman, hall, doors, other woman help. Woman, hall, doors, other woman, occasionally adding just a little bit more information. Woman, I think he knows what to do. Doors, other woman help. I hide behind the door. I don't want Nuala to see me. I can see in her mind that just seeing me could trigger a smacking frenzy response. Elva pulls Nuala's chair upright and says,
Come.
They both exit the room and I look down the hallway to make sure they go to the end. The doors open and I see them both enter. I turn their tracking devices off and go down the hall cautiously to check. Yes, they've gone. I press a button in the elevator and quickly exit before the doors close. I go back into the room and close the door. So far, all is going according to plan. I look at Sleepy Man. I don't like being here in this room by myself with him. I undo the straps on him and let them hang. I will leave the other attachments until the last possible moment. I make sure the viewing panes show Elva still shoveling sand and glass. They also show Nuala gone to the moon in the chair next to Sleepy Man, who is still asleep. So easy compared to what I thought it might be. I make Sleepy Man's tracking device go on and off a few times, then stay off. I turn mine off again, like I did when I walked down the hallway and back. I turned it on again in a few minutes, then off permanently. I get back in the chair where I was before and lay back. I check on Nuala and Elva occasionally with my mind. I know they're in good hands. Oh, Bartholomew, Elva's original name. He is the son of a farmer. His mind is getting clearer and clearer. I was hoping this would happen. Oh dear, his memories. I take this opportunity to conduct more rescues. We are such a long distance from the facilities that it doesn't seem to make any difference. 12 precious people that the scientists refer to as slabs at the facility where Stella works, and logs at the facility where Delilah works. The viewing people suspect something is happening when I eventually remove Nuala from their view. Then, a few minutes later, Elva. I am already out of their view, supposedly in the cupboard under all that sand and glass. 2 of them are on their way here. I concentrate on delaying them just in case. This is it. Bartholomew is coming. He exits the elevator at the end of the hall. I unlock the door with my mind, and he enters the room and comes straight over to me. I look up at him and say, "Pleased to meet you, Bartholomew." He says,
I am very pleased to meet you too.
"I am so glad that it worked for you," I say. "You need to be quick. They're in the elevator on their way here. Don't forget to pull some of the cables from Nuala's chair before you sit down." He's back in his chair, and I turn his tracking device back on. The elevator doors, I hear them open as I remove all the attachments from Sleepy Man with my mind. The door is opening. I check. Sleepy Man is, as usual, asleep. The two viewing people, both scientists, walk in. Well, they are not happy that Nuala is missing and assume she must have unplugged the three of us before she left. They are surprised that the three of us are asleep. Bartholomew, and I are not asleep. I open my eyes, and as I sit up, the chair repositions to upright. I look at the men. One of them yells at me.
Where is the woman? Where is the mother?
Do any of these scientists have any manners? I hear Elvar's chair move and his voice say,
Out door.
"Yes, she went out of the room," I say. I hear Elvar's voice again.
Woman gone.
"Well done, Bartholomew. You're sounding just like Elvar." Oh, he actually remembers everything he did as Elvar. That's good. I wasn't sure if he would. The two scientist viewers make a lot of noise looking at the chair Nuala was on, complaining a lot, and eventually as they exit to look for her, I tell them that she is not here. They ignore me and still assume that she is somewhere in the building. I sit chatting with Bartholomew quietly. He has so much to say. Should I think of him as Bartholomew or Elvar? In his mind, he thinks like he originally did, so Bartholomew. But he looks like, well, he still needs his face, hands and feet repaired. I decide I will think of him as Elvar while his body is still like this. One day, when he looks like himself again and is free, that's when I will think of him as Bartholomew. Sleepy Man wakes up. Oh no. He sits up and is disoriented, wondering where he is. He gets up and walks towards me, and suddenly Elvar is standing between him and me.
You don't touch her. She is off limits.
Elvar warns.
And if I ever hear of you hurting her in any way...
Elvar left the sentence unended for maximum effect. I can see in his thoughts that he knows it is safe to speak like this in front of Sleepy Man, because they won't pay any attention to what Sleepy Man says. Sleepy Man looks a bit shocked. He is wondering if he is dreaming. He decides to go and look for a more comfortable chair to fall asleep on. He leaves the room and Elvar shuts the door. Elvar talks again the whole time we're by ourselves. He asks me about rescues and the portals, and what the time frame is likely to be regarding his face, hands and feet being repaired. We also check to see if he can hear me in his thoughts, now that he can think clearly again. Yes, he can, easily. He wants to know all my nicknames, so he can choose one. He decides on Code 3, because he thinks it sounds more official than all the rest. I let him know about Ambrielle and plan to introduce them as soon as I can. She is not here, so I know that she is somewhere helping people, and that's what she does. We both like helping people. The two scientists eventually return and are angry all over again when they see Sleepy Man gone. They leave the room again, this time to find Sleepy Man. They return quickly, having found him asleep on the couch in the next room. They left him there and locked the door. Apparently, tech heads, as they call them, are on their way to deal with this. They're calling it subpar simulation. Actually, I thought it was a pretty good simulation, except the swapping out of the wrong babies. This enormous room is set out the way we appeared there, and as we moved through the simulated house, these chairs on wheels moved in those directions, along with all the tech. Clever. It meant that when I scanned, I found their actual minds in the appropriate areas where they should have been. I must remember to check further than where the buildings appear to end, and if there are other floors. Having it on the surface was also clever. The tech heads, as they refer to them, are part of the Psych Guild, and this is how they do simulations for their psych agents. I knew this was a simulation fairly quickly. Don't the psych agents discover this? Obviously not. The scientists go to get a cuppa, complaining that there should have been a tea lady assigned here. Elva begins talking non-stop again. I suggest trying mind-to-mind communication. It's so much faster. And I would really like to know how his mind responds. We have such a long conversation in our thoughts, and we go faster and faster, as I do with everyone, to see how fast they can handle. I am surprised how fast I can go. He has a very strong mind. I'm so glad he is able to use it again. By the time the scientists come back to retrieve us, I think we know almost all there is to know about each other. Elva wants to find out what happens with the dog on the surface one day, and the other odd things on and around the surface house, as I do. I want to find out what happens to the people at the gathering with the snake woman, and the other odd things that happen at the meeting site, as he does. When the scientists return, they take us along with Sleepy Man to the elevator that goes up a long way to the roof of the building. There are 2 helicopters here waiting. I am ushered into one with a scientist and Sleepy Man, and the other scientist directs Elva to the other helicopter. Sleepy Man hates riding in helicopters since he almost fell out of one on his first ride. The woman who was sent to retrieve him thought it was very funny. I know his thoughts. I can't help but know they are so loud. Did he glance at me then? Surely not. He usually makes sure that he doesn't look at me. Yes, he did, although he's pretending that he didn't. I know from his loud thoughts. He again thinks that I look like a replica of him when he was my age, except a girl version. I agree. I see the picture of him as a child in his thoughts. He looks just like me. Oh dear. Now he's remembering looking at a stump and being lifted onto it. When he turned around to see who put him there, he saw that it was his mum. He didn't like the stump, just as I don't like the stump in the backyard of the surface house. Suddenly we have, I'm not really sure, maybe a combined memory. I see a girl, an older girl, maybe the dog's owner. She looks just like the girl I saw in the dog's mind. She is standing in the surface room where I so often have to be. Suddenly a woman and a young man are there with her. The woman says that they want the girl to have something. The girl, she doesn't misunderstand, but thinks that the woman must mean that they will have it. The woman says, "No, we are not going to have it. We want you to have it." I look at Sleepy Man. We both know that we saw the memory together, but his perspective was that of the young man, and my perspective was that of the girl. We are both thinking the same thing. That girl and young man, who were they? I have had combined memories before, but not with Sleepy Man. He looks away and is now thinking about me being his biological child. He really believes that I am his biological child. Why does he think of that so often? Does he not remember? I say in his thoughts, "Do you remember all the blue translucent spheres?"
Get out of my head!
He yells in my thoughts.
And stay out!
All you had to do was ask. There is no reason to yell at me, I reply. I would be much more inclined to stay out of your head if you politely asked. He glares at me, but his glare gradually changes to a contemplative look as he once again thinks of how alike we look. I turn and look out the window next to me as I try to ignore his loud thoughts. Maybe you should quieten your thoughts, I quietly point out in his mind without turning around. If you don't want me to know what they are, maybe you should stop screaming them so loud. Now he's wondering how I do that. He wants to do it. He wants my ability for himself, just like the Mangala, but he's wondering if there really is a way to do it. He's thinking that there could be some sort of loophole he could utilize at one of those gathering his hair tins. He thinks that I would have to agree to it and that he can make me agree. My abilities will always be intact. They are a part of me. They're not separate things that can be dismantled or removed. I gently let him know.
I told you to get out of my head!
He yells in my thoughts. I quietly say, yes, and I politely let you know that if you didn't want me to know your thoughts, maybe you should stop screaming them so loud. He tries to move over a bit further away from me, but his tight seatbelt prevents him. I decide to focus on Elvar's thoughts. He has already arrived at his destination. That didn't take long. He's not sure, but he thinks the helicopter went through a large portal. I suspected as much. I saw it in the pilot's thoughts. So we are where I suspected. Well, I actually knew where we were. It was just one of those odd times when what we see is not really there, and the most believable explanation is not the truth. I will remember that place and the tech that they have there. It reminds me of somewhere else, but that has many people. That place had none besides us, who were stuck in the simulation. There were enough other things happening that I didn't notice the babies being swapped, or the extra person swapping them. Clever. I haven't had as much to do with technicians as scientists, but I always suspected that they were not as inferior as the scientists think of them. I have come across some technicians, and they seem to be far more innovative than the scientists believe. Now we're going through a large portal. The whole helicopter fits easily. I wonder if I could open a portal that big. I scan. I know where we are. We are headed towards that thermal layer, as the pilot thinks of it. above the surface house. I hope we're not stopping there. Sometimes we go straight past it. Sleepy Man is again thinking of the combined memory we shared. Who was that woman and young man and the girl? Why did it seem so much like a memory? Why was Sleepy Man's perspective that of the young man, and why was my perspective that of the girl? Who was the woman, and why did she treat the young man like an apprentice, as though she was teaching him what to do in those circumstances? What were the circumstances? The young man and girl were about 5 years apart, so not us. But if not us, who were they? Thank you so much for joining us with the cuppa. I appreciate your company.